Hey everybody, welcome back to Starfyre Gaming. I am Sir Joseph and this is Warhammer 40k Rouge Trader. We are doing a quick little get to know our retinue mission again. We're going to talk to Jae and to Pasqal this time. Again, if you are not interested in listening to their backgrounds and stuff, you can skip this one. And then there will be another one out this same day with actual quest stuff. So with that, let's talk to Jae.
May the Exalted One protect you. Have you grown bored without our little talk, Shireen?
Jae flashes a welcoming smile, rolling a coin across the knuckles of her augmented fingers. You don't look like a typical smuggler.
No truer words have ever been said. I'm far more exciting than some small-time peddlers from Footfall. Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Jae Amira Fatqain Tamiri Ash Ifrit, the 12th daughter of the Lord of Ifrit, a distant world at the fringes of the Imperium.
Jae performs a graceful and somewhat exotic curtsy.
The youngest child is destined to become a bargaining chip in the family's political games. But I was unwilling to accept such a fate, and wanted to choose what to become and which path to follow. When I learned the Exalted One watches over hundreds of other worlds amidst distant stars, I understood there was an entire world of opportunities beyond Ifrit. All I had to do was break the familial bonds tying me down and escape the planet. Which I did a long time ago.
Why did you choose to come to the Coronis Expanse?
The Coronis Expanse. A gorgeous name, isn't it? But this backwater wasn't my original destination when I escaped, Shireen. Oh no, it was the rumors of incredible freedom that brought me to the Coronis Expanse. Freedom that is generously bestowed upon everyone who can survive in these parts. All doors are open here. You can become a saint, a mogul, a kingmaker, or anyone you like, really. Here, hard work pays off, unless you're used to lying by the roadside and complaining instead of toiling for the good of your soul, glory, wallet, or whatever floats your boat. I'm used to working hard, and so I found my blessing.
How did you escape from Ifrit?
I convinced my father I personally wished to oversee the inspection of imported goods. I had to get experience so I wouldn't bring shame on our family, didn't I? I made friends with traders, missionaries, and soldiers at the port. I listened to their stories, studied the charts, learned what documents I had to forge to escape the planet. A kind word here, a shiny coin there. And here I am, in the iron belly of a ship, braving the void in search of a new life.
Judging by your implants, you've had quite a few close shaves over the years.
Consider it a mark of my trade. This year, Xenos. Dumb-headed orcs. Who knew that we weren't the only ones to get tempted by the wreck of that raider? As for this treasure, I received it as a reward for a life that had been just a little too good. I was in a hurry to get to the Adeptus Amasacus after the Exalted One blessed me with immense wealth. I was 2 backstreets away from the den when a pathetic ashmag attacked me, envious of somebody else's fortune.
Jae's mechanical hand balls into a fist. Jae touches her precious neck implant. She drags her thumb across her throat. You are familiar with implants like the one that has replaced Jae's neck. It is merely one part of a massive augmentation replacing the internal organs. A slit throat could not have been the cause for installing such a sophisticated device. Thank you for sharing this.
All relationships are based on mutual trust. That goes for business too.
Tell me about your background again.
The youngest child is destined to become a bargaining chip in the
same
family's
stuff.
political
We can
game.
skip out of that.
All relationships are based on mutual trust. That goes for business too.
I have seen enough of the shiny wrapping of the Cronus Expanse. Tell me about its dark side.
The dark side? is the real Coronis Expanse, if you ask me. But what do you want to know about it, Shireen?
How do they do things on footfall?
Dynasties drink with criminals. Rogue traders strike deals with the Kasbalika, and dozens of ships stop off for a welcome break from a long voyage. Is there a more beautiful place in the entire Imperium? The Emperor is merciful to the meek and the powerful alike. There's a job for everyone as long as they have a head on their shoulders. And if you feel like talking to him in person, the statue of the Exalted One can be seen from any asteroid. You can pray to your heart's content.
Tell me about the Cas Basilica mission.
An ancient crime cartel that originated with the first settlers of the Calixis sector. It is run by shadowy clans with robber barons at the helm. Cross their path, and you risk making enemies all over the Coronis Expanse, or even the entire Imperium. As for the agents, they are just shameless, greedy scum. Every third person on footfall is a Kasbalikan. But that doesn't mean all that rotten filth is acting together. I've been set up more than once just so some Kasbalikan can get one over on his rivals. And yet, the Kasbalika is generous to its customers, if you can afford it. Anything can be obtained, organized, and transported for the right price. The customer is always right, unless they happen to be a rat. In which case...
Jae sighs and throws up her hands. Scum, rotten filth, rats. It is almost as if Jae's mask briefly slips and she starts using words that have no place in the vocabulary of someone from the upper strata of the Imperium. Are you one of the Casabilica's robber barons?
What gave you such an outrageous idea? Was it my immaculate garment? My gorgeous jewelry? Do not worry, Shireen. I will let you know once I become a baroness, should the Exalted One will it. Just imagine the strong and fruitful alliance that could be forged between a rogue trader and a mastermind of the Kasbalika.
How did you become a Kasbalikan agent?
It's not hard to do on footfall. I spent a year working for good old Christo. He was a brave soldier who gave up the ghost in a scuffle with orcs, and then took over his business. Having a good head on your shoulders and keeping the Exalted One in your heart helps to establish new contacts quickly. Eventually, I gathered together a group of honest and loyal people, and it only took a few successful contracts for the Kasbalika to take notice. I quickly settled on footfall and started dispensing my wisdom to my protégés and subordinates. I lost the taste for getting my hands dirty.
Tell me about the cold trade.
It really is simple, Shireen. The Kasbalika runs the Imperium's black market, offering special goods to those who can afford their services. Yes, I am talking about Xeno artifacts too. Alien weapons, technology, sometimes even certain kinds of living creatures. Unlike the rogue traders whose sacred warrants make them immune even from the laws of the Exalted One, Kasbalikan agents are used to hiding and covering their tracks. Nobody wants to draw unwanted attention, no matter who might take an interest. Especially now that the Coronis Expanse has a warrior of the Golden Throne as its watchman.
Let's change the subject.
Why not? The decision is yours, Shireen.
You're telling me tales about your colorful past, Jae, but I feel not all of these stories are true.
Listen, Shireen, the giver of happiness and the dearest of my friends. I am who I am. A cold trader, a Kasbalikan agent, and your partner. We each have a past, and that past is sealed. I'm not prying into your soul, am I? Well, have pity on mine. It has already been gnawed at by the Aji. And if you don't like the sound of that, we'll just go our separate ways. Deal?
Jae stops smiling and rubs the bridge of her nose warily.
All relationships are based on mutual trust. That goes for business too.
Tell me about your business in the Coronis Expanse.
My trade means knowing the right people and non-people. having the right connections, and making sure the precious goods find their way into the hands of my no less precious customers. My wisdom includes the knowledge of the enemies of humankind, be they Xenos or the lowest scum in the Imperium, as well as the latest knowledge about how much they charge for any particular curio at the footfall market. Not even the most cunning Aji will deceive you as long as I am with you, Shireen. I promise you that. Whatever I have can be yours too, if your unfathomable wealth isn't enough for you already, I mean.
Do you do business with the enemies of humanity?
It has been known to happen. After years of dealing with Xenos, I've learned their customs, and even got a grasp of their language. Except they cringe whenever I start speaking. Arrogant sods. They dislike even our voices, but they never turn away our valuables. Then again, I'm used to seeing sour faces. In this trade, the easily offended go out of business.
Perhaps your knowledge will serve the Von Valencia's protectorate.
I have no doubt you will have to deal with Xenos sooner or later. When that time comes, Shireen, you will thank the Exalted One for sending me to stand at your side.
Jae nods thoughtfully. You have many talents.
Thank you, Shireen. Being able to read and write is chief among them. You may not be aware, but this science is beyond the abilities of billions of the Imperium subjects. And yet they happily keep drudging along in their factories, fundi, and assembly lines. Me? I didn't escape Ifrit to consign myself to such misery. It was literacy that paved my path to copied orders, forged signatures, counterfeited papers. The wonderful things that make the wheels of bureaucracy turn in the right direction.
Are you really that rich?
Compared to the rabble on footfall, perhaps. Compared to you, be it power or money, I still have a long way to go. I could purchase one of Footfall's asteroids, but not a planet. I could subjugate a few gangs from the shady districts, but not Vladium. And so the answer to your question is no. I do not consider myself rich. I am not rich enough.
Jae raises an eyebrow. You could be sitting back, reaping the fruits of your own work. So why have you chosen to embrace the vicissitudes of life aboard a void ship?
You're fun to talk. I grew tired of scribing endless contracts and agreements neatly tucked away on Footfall. Well, I did that for how many years? But here, among the stars, you are always balanced on a knife edge. Nothing thrills me more than the tension of a warp jump, or the danger that lurks around every corner on a planet. Footfall was beginning to make me fat and stupid, Sherry. I do not want that.
Jae raises an eyebrow. Jae speaks measuredly, and just the right amount of laziness in her voice, but her performance cannot conceal a slight tremor in her voice. Whatever Jae is afraid of, that is what drove her off of Footfall. What about your gang that stayed back on Footfall? Do you trust them?
Do I trust the Trickster twins? By the Exalted One, no. The underhanded rogues of Footfall came up with that name for a reason. The tricks of those frenzied ashmags are all about things far more intriguing than the honest and law-abiding subjects of the Imperium can imagine.
The mention of her fellow cold traders makes Jai's eyes shine a bit brighter than usual.
On the other hand, this is why I am keeping them close. Kor and Tora know who lifted them out of the cesspit proudly called the Shadow Quarters, and who has been feeding that ravenous beast their insatiable lust for lucre. No, they are not going to betray me if only because they know I am now a part of your entourage, Shireen. They're not going to let the biggest pie in the Imperium pass them by without trying to get a slice for themselves.
Tell me about the Xenos of the Coronis Expanse.
Vicious, cruel, dangerous beasts. Humans hold little interest for Xenos. We are entertainment for them, a means to keep boredom at bay, a commodity. But some of them contact us once in a while using their own people. Do not deceive yourself by thinking you are safe because there are no Xenos inside. Those Agi are as cunning as they are ruthless. They cleverly pull at the strings of spies and traitors, subjugate those who do not fall for the promised reward, transform the ones who resist their promises into soulless puppets. The Emperor watches over me, and that is why I still haven't succumbed to the fate of many of my associates who have lost their lives to the stringy scoundrels.
Let's talk about something else.
I think we've said all there is to say on this topic.
Did you know Theodora von Valencius, my predecessor?
It is difficult not to be aware of the powers that be, especially ones like Lord Captain Theodora. But we never met personally, as the difference between our positions was far too great. Theodora was a mighty ruler, the center of her own universe, and I, a pathetic commoner, was nothing next to her. But you were kind to me, Shireen, and in my eyes that put you above your esteemed aunt, or whoever she was to you.
You keep using words I don't understand, like calling me Shireen.
The language on Ifrit, my home world, is quite different from the one spoken in the Coronis Expanse. We bestow more than one meaning upon each word, allowing our wise men to fully express their sagacious thoughts, and us lowly commoners our base passions and desires.
Jae starts to twist a strand of her raven black hair around her finger.
Take Agi, for example. That is what I call every piece of scum and villain, because Agi means evil and foe and pathetic worm unworthy of consideration. Or take Ashmag. It means fool and little brother and blind man who stumbled and would fall into a pit without guidance. Shireen means friend and comrade and roommate in a battle formation, like we are.
I'll see you later.
Oh, I have no doubt you will.
Alright, now let's go talk to Pasqal.
Messiah knows all, comprehends all.
I want to know the truth about you.
The request is approved. I did conceal certain information. I was a student of Archmagus Amanat, but I committed an act of betrayal after he deviated from sacred dogma.
The mechadendrite coils around the tech priest's chest and shoulders as if trying to protect him. What did Armanat do?
He fell into schism and challenged the sacred boundaries of knowledge. The blessed Amanat claimed the limits of what is permitted must be expanded, because by refusing to explore certain law, we find ourselves in contempt of the seventh universal law. Comprehension is the key to all things. My mentor put forth a thesis claiming that we have stagnated, that a ritual is now nothing but a cage for souls and false worship of the Omnissiah. He sought to break the cycle of mindless repetition because he saw the inevitable demise of our faith and all humanity at the end of it.
That seems like a theological argument, not a political one.
Even those who have ascended to the Omnissiah's wisdom still bear the seed of imperfection born of their flesh. But the ambitions of individuals mean little when we discuss ritual and belief. Knowledge is divine, and any argument as to how it must be reached is an argument of ritual and belief.
How did you betray Amarnat?
The teachings of the blessed Amanat spread, and word of it reached the conclave of the Cognizance fleet. They recognized his teachings as tech heresy. Many tech priests suddenly vanished or were subjected to servo penance for minor transgressions. The students of Amanat, whose number included many enlightened and respected brothers, resisted. My prognosis showed that our most likely future was a schism and a fratricidal war that would destroy the Cognizance fleet. That was when I headed to the Conclave. I confessed and handed the information about my mentor's research over to the Conclave. Brazen, anathematic studies of the Forbidden Law. The Conclave could use that data to summon Archmagos Amanat to stand trial and compel him to repent on pain of excommunicate Traitoris. His subsequent fate is unknown to me.
So you betrayed your mentor?
This statement is true. However, I took this step out of loyalty to my mentor. He rejected caution and was leading us to a blasphemous war where he would become the first and most important victim. I did not want to witness his destruction and tried to force him to submit. I wanted to return to my mentor and share his fate, but the Conclave found me repentant and sent me to the station Alter Templum Calixis EXT-17, where I was to atone for my previous transgressions.
You acted as a loyal son of the Imperium should.
I pray that the Omnissiah grants us wisdom to overcome the dialectic differences that divide us.
The Vox system emits a painful crunch, like the sound of snapping bone. So why did you go to Recad Minoris?
I was summoned there by a message that was encrypted with the Blessed Amanat's personal code, and could it be interpreted in several ways. One thing was certain. We were in danger, and I had to go to Recad Minoris.
The tech priest named Abel. Who is he?
I never met him, but I think he was a person of worth. The phrase that came from his lips indicates he was in contact with my mentor. I preserved his cortical implant and absorbed the information it contained. However, the large amounts of data memories are encoded with a cipher yet unfamiliar to me.
What are you going to do next?
I was wrong when I assumed it was the Blessed Archmagos Amanat who assumed the guise of Abel Haneman. But there is a connection between him and the Reverend Abel, and I intend to uncover the nature of this link.
I have no more questions.
Acknowledged. I will return to ruminating on the search for the Blessed Amanat.
Except, of course, these questions here. I want to know more about your past.
The request is approved. I have no outright restrictions on disclosing this information.
Behind the tech priest's shoulders, the mechadendrites spread out like wings. Where are you from?
Information about my origins is worthless. I belong to the priesthood of explorators and came to the Coronis Expanse over 200 years ago.
Pardon me.
Any events preceding that moment are insignificant.
How did you end up in the Coronis Expanse?
I was honored to become a member of the Explorator Cognizance Fleet. When the Adeptus Mechanicus summoned the faithful for an exploratory venture into the depths of the Coronis Expanse, I joined the fleet in fulfillment of my sacred vows of comprehension.
Why are you not with the fleet then?
After I betrayed Archmagos Amanat, the fleet conclave directed me to the orbital station Alter Templum Calixis EXT-17 for penance. This venerable temple station was founded in the early years of our expansion into the Coronis expanse. It is currently a rear observation post of the Cognizant's fleet in orbit around the star Furibundus.
Who are the Explorators?
The sacred fraternity of explorers. The cult Mechanica sends us out to the frontiers of the known sectors as researchers and conquerors. We are the warriors of the code, who return to the lost worlds and devote themselves to recovering the lost ancient knowledge. Explorators are granted the privilege of being more independent than many of our tech comrades. However, it has earned us a reputation as unstable and poorly controlled troublemakers whose unorthodox views are dangerously close to apostasy.
Tell me about your mechadendrites.
They are my younger brothers and guides on the way to the Omnissiah. Their machine spirits are directly bound to my neocortex and pick up impulses from my subconscious. Sometimes they act ahead of my thoughts. This is how the Omnissiah leads me to comprehension.
The voice coming from the box synth changes, becoming strangely softer, blooming with low, warm undertones. We can stop there.
Acknowledged.
Except for these two, or this one. Tell me more about the Adeptus Mechanicus.
I am honored to belong to the priesthood of Mars, guided by its tenets. We safeguard technology against the impure and the unenlightened.
Why did you mention Mars?
That is where the cult of the Omnissiah originated, and where we were granted the first revelations. Many millennia ago, we made an alliance with the Emperor of Terra and have served the Imperium ever since, paying a tribute to machinery, weapons, and void ships. Everything that bears the blessed seal of machinery comes from our hands, and it is we who make sure the operating rituals are performed as they were meant to. We are everywhere. We are the Mars-forged steel bars that give the Imperium strength.
What do you mean you guard it? It's not a buried treasure. It's not a secret.
It is both a treasure and a secret. Technology is how the divinity of the Omnissiah manifests itself in this world. This is why the uninitiated may only be allowed to touch the most vulgar and mundane of its instances. We, on the other hand, are authorized to use the sacred catechism of maintenance and operation. Although there is another reason to deny lay people the sacrament of knowledge, it can be dangerous. Twisted by renegades, the Omnissiah's wisdom is called heretic, and the exposure to it may corrupt the uninitiated. Another danger is knowledge strangely interpreted and inscrutably twisted by the minds of the Xenos. This vein is called xenotech.
Banning things you cannot understand is the opposite of seeking knowledge. Technology is merely a tool that can be employed without risk by a wise wielder.
That is a bold hypothesis. And yet the Omnissiah teaches us that a dauntless mind can penetrate any knowledge through analysis, where the ignorant see heresy, the enlightened might see truth.
Do you hold a high position in your fraternity?
This electu indicates that I am a Magos, who has mastered the sacraments of many spheres of knowledge and has the right to conduct services in a forged cathedral.
Pasqal exposes his wrist. The glowing green threads of an electric tattoo run under the pale skin that has long forgotten the taste of sunlight. What is the Omnissiah, in your understanding?
He is the divine mechanism, the maker of technology. The universe was made to resemble a mechanical marvel because the Omnissiah rules over it. Knowledge is the highest form that he uses to manifest in the world. For now. Someday, he will come to this world in the absolute fullness of his splendor. The Adeptus Mechanicus worshipped the Emperor. He is the earthly manifestation of the Omnissiah, who brought humanity into the light of divine grace.
What is behind the Adeptus Mechanicus's enthusiasm for replacing flesh with augmentations?
Organic tissue is an imperfect replica of the machine. Transient and vulnerable. Metal is more stable, more effective, and more durable. Flesh speak is flawed next to binaric language. Meat begets weakness. It softens the mind and undermines discipline. But you can replace metal when it wears down. In addition, a machine is a supreme form of knowledge, and by assuming mechanical form, we become closer to the Omnissiah. However, like all things sacred, our augmentations must not be defiled by the eyes of the ignorant. Which is why we reveal only the crudest of tools, while holier mechanisms remain concealed beneath our crimson robes.
An interesting superstition.
Not a superstition, a gracious truth.
You have a strange way of speaking. Is that because of the augmentation, or does your faith dictate how you should express yourself?
Partially true. I had a voice modulator implanted alongside the respiratory purification module, but there is an additional reason. Gothic is not my first language. I am used to thinking and making statements in lingua technis. The binaric language is more informative, more ergonomic, and less prone to misinterpretation.
I have no more questions.
Acknowledged.
Finally, we have no more questions.
May your labors be effective and fruitful.
All right. And with that, we have finished doing the talking with those two folks. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. I've been Sir Joseph. You guys are amazing. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you later.